if you could talk just a little bit more about your calling. How did that become a bit
Mm.
more in focus for you?
Yeah. So when I think back, I can actually remember as a teenager that there seemed to be a bit of a nudge towards pastoral ministry. There wasn't, it was probably a seed that was being germinated. I really don't have a whole lot of things that I could attach to it. I do remember that faithful preaching of the scriptures was quite significant in my life, even at that time. And um, choral music, sacred choral music. I sang in choirs, odd for a teenager, right? But those were actually really quite significant in my personal life, and became a part of forming kind of the direction for my future. So yeah, as I did mention, there was an emergence of this call to ministry, maybe pastoral ministry in Bible college, and then I graduated from Briarcrest with a Bachelor of Arts in Theology. I had been tree planting every summer for a whole pile of summers to earn money to go back to college. And so I had been out of the church, the local church, for all those years, just by virtue of working in the summer and then being away at college, throughout the rest of the year. And so, as a 23-year-old, I had done a pastoral internship at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Saskatoon, and they really affirmed this emerging call and said, if we had a spot for you here, we would hire you tomorrow, and really encouraged me to think about pastoral ministry. I took that seriously. I started submitting resumes out there. I was 23. I was single. I had no local church experience. And this church in Kelowna took a flyer on a 23-year-old. The church was called Kelowna Gospel Fellowship. And I found myself here at KGF beginning pastoral ministry. And so that calling was honestly shaped, formed, and matured, developed right here at KGF. Larry Schramm was the lead pastor at the time and mentored, encouraged, developed the congregation, was highly instrumental in walking alongside me, giving me a safe, healthy environment in which to grow. And so I attribute, God's work through his people at KGF as significant to where I am today, 31 years later in ministry. And my unique calling, I would say after, 3+ decades, really is around, I am a pastor, a pastor teacher, shepherd teacher, very interested, because I think this is what God has called me to do, to oversee the whole, to be a spiritual overseer with the whole, with working with other people in leadership, staff, lay people, to ensure that the local church is pursuing the mission that God has for them. And I think that every local church has a specific vision that God has entrusted to them, and we're to know that and to pursue it, and to do it together. And so I feel very passionate about being a part of that, and kind of ensuring that the whole is healthy, moving forward and trusting God for the fruit. So preaching ministry has been a significant part of that, but working with teams is a part of that, and then being with the people. I actually That's part of being shepherd, is knowing who your sheep are, where they're at, and what they need so that they can actually mature to become everything that God wants them to be. So that's a little bit about my background, a little bit more kind of developed thoughts about my calling, and where that's brought me to today. So it's kind of really interesting that I'm kind of back back
Yeah.
around the cycle.
Well, it is a bit of that full circle thing, right? And actually, let me just ask one more quick question to build on that is, you know, at 23, you were serving at KGF Church, beginning of your ministry life, and growing into more full adulthood and life and all that, and now you enter potentially into KGF Church again, but at a different stage of life, maybe maybe toward the last chapter of ministry influence and life. And I wonder, how do you see your calling being expressed now, as you would think about this chapter as opposed to the beginning chapter? How would you, what's kind of living in you in terms of what you see, hope for, and really sense a deep commitment to?
Yeah. Yeah, you've touched on a very, very significant piece, one that I've actually thought a little bit about just by virtue of my age and stage in life, and it's a little sobering actually. But as I think about the next chapter, and for the record, I just became a grandpa 3 days ago, so
Well, congratulations.
thank you so much. So we're at love already with little Ezra. But yeah, where do I see myself now? So I mean, God has gifted all of us in different ways, and so He's entrusted me with gifts that give me life and passion, and I want to continue to live those out. However, as I think about the next 10, 12, 15 years of God gives, kind of health and strength, I am absolutely committed to continuing to do what was done for me some
Mm.
30 years ago, which was to champion the next generation, to work with them, to encourage them, to build them up, to equip them in passing the baton along. And so the next generation of leaders needs to be poured into, just like I was poured into at 23 and 28 and 35 and so forth. So that gives me actually a lot of joy, and I look forward to doing that with the folks that God has called up at KGF, and to continue to grow that and to build that.